You are live. We are back on our topic. What happens when school strips curiosity of the mind? More specifically, what happens when school strips curiosity of the children's mind? And if I could synthesize this with a question, I wrote this down. You are either going to ask questions until you are exhausted, as a child would do. You either ask the questions and do all of the things you aspire to. You either dream. This is where we're drawing the line here. You either dream or you bite the bullet and you waste your life away. This side is where you take life for granted. Throughout most of my life, I don't think I really understood that expression. I understood the context. I understood the meaning. I never felt it. And as you age, usually something that you'll hear at one point in your life takes on a new meaning. As you get older, it transcends itself. So someone may have told you something maybe when you were 8 years old, 15 years old, and then when you're 26, 35, it means something different. I'm sure at 55, 75, taking something for granted, taking your life for granted, that has taken on a new meaning in my life. It is why I do the show. I'm fulfilling my dream. I'm fulfilling the creative aspect. I'm going back to the child that has never left me, but that I concealed along with the societal pressures that have enabled it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go on some diatribe about blaming society. The idea here is that the systems and structures that are in place are holding us down. Now, that may sound a little cliche or too generic for you, and it is. But we have to understand that first, right? The systems in place are designed to create a productive output. The system wants worker bees. That's what we are at the end of the day. I don't mean to sound cynical here. I'm not going to say that the government is completely oppressing us, but look at the structure that is in place. You go to school, you must go to school. You come out, you work, you make money, you spend that money. You find things to do, various things. And you fulfill the rat race. And most people feel unfulfilled as a result. Many of those people have children. You look at your children and you teach them the same thing. You teach them to go through the same cycle that you just went through, which in all likelihood, I don't know what's going on in your life, but from all of the life experience that I have, from all of the friends and family that I have spoken to, over the course of my life, we are unhappy. Many of us are. And we're going to teach our kids to fit that same system? I don't think parents want that for their children. On the contrary, what do parents say about their children? If the parent was stricken with poverty, they say, I'm going to do everything in my ability to make sure that my child has the best shot possible. That's a natural train of thought of a parent to a child, or for a child, rather. The umbrella topic above all of this is really, we shouldn't be speaking to children like they're children. So what are they? What are they then? They are children. But we shouldn't undermine them. That's the umbrella-ish topic up here. We shouldn't undermine them because undermining them attacks them foundationally. Every time you are stopping their train of thought, every time you are speaking to them without explaining to them, every time you are bribing or blackmailing them, saying something like, hey, please do this because it will make me happy. Every time you are using the primitive emotion of fear to get what you want out of a child, all of this suppresses their imagination. It suppresses their creativity. It makes them more withdrawn. It makes them shells of themselves. You want to know how to stifle curiosity? You already know how to do it. You already know how to do it in your own life. I think every single person can look in the mirror right now and say, damn, there are so many things I want to do that I haven't done. That is taking life for granted. I also like to run in parallel with the idea that my mother, thank God, is still with me. One of the old sayings is, give your mother her flowers while she's still here. Do I take my mother for granted because I don't always give her flowers or I don't always go see her? Potentially. But by the same token, we have to give ourselves grace. And that is something I've always struggled with in my life. I don't know how to give myself grace. I run my body into the ground. I read as much as I can until exhaustion. I am just killing myself with work. Anybody that knows me knows how extreme I am. I only know one speed, and that is 1,000 miles an hour. As fast as I can go, I want to get it done. Whatever it is in my life. The Shoy Show, I got to record this thing every day. I got to edit. I got to put out videos. I got to work on this every day. To me, that's not taking my life for granted because I'm putting the energy and focus and my imagination, I'm putting my life into this show. Let's not get all dramatic here. But if I wasn't, and there was a time when I wasn't, there was a time where these were all ideas that were written down, all of the things that I wanted to do. And by the way, you have great ideas. You always have had great ideas. You and everyone else. That doesn't diminish your thoughts or your aspirations. Let this just be a reminder to go out there and achieve them and go out there and get them. There is nothing that I don't believe any human being can't accomplish. They said we couldn't fly, we flew. They said we couldn't go to space, we went. They said XYZ can't happen, it happens. I do not believe in impossibility, and I'd rather prove it to be impossible before I say that it is. If we truly want to take care of our next generations, and oh, by the way, who doesn't? Whether you have kids or not, you're still protective over them, right? We're always going to be protective over children, the youth. They need guidance. They need us to help show them the way. What way are we going to show them? Which path, if you think about Dorothy and the yellow brick road on her way to the Wizard of Oz, which way is she going? I guess, which way do you want children to go? That's my question for you. Do you want them to follow the same path that you did, which left you unfulfilled, saddened, melancholy, disappointed, filled with regret? Absolutely not. I don't want to do that for children. I want to promote them to dream and dream as big as possible and chase the dream because you have nothing to lose. But there's a lot that stands in their way. And one aspect of it is the systems and the structures in society that handicap them from ever being able to break out. And then it's the village and the people and the family that surrounds them. Because what's idiosyncratic and systematic is really the people, right? It's almost uncontrollable, but it is confined to the people. You don't know who's going to say what. You don't know who they're going to come into contact with. This is really the wild card here. So there has to be a collective effort from humanity, and I feel like there needs to be some education here on the subject matter as well, for us to be able to say, we are going to guide our children on this path. This is the golden path. On the other side of things, which is really the juxtaposition here, are the systems and the processes. It is mandatory, it is compulsory to go to school here, to be enrolled in school. It is in many parts of the world. We are not against education. We are speaking about the process that gets you there. Is it efficient? Is it fair? Does it bring out, most importantly, this is the most important point, does it unleash their full potential? And drop. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. I personally feel like I am a shell of myself. I mean, look at these kids that I put on screen. There's a reason why I put them on screen. I Googled sad kid in school. He's sad for a reason. This system needs improvement, and it can be improved, and it can always be improved. What are we doing about it? A child who cannot sit still may not be broken. A student who hates worksheets may not hate learning. A young person who challenges the lesson may not be disrespectful. They may be asking for reality. What is this all for? Why am I here? Will I be using this in the future? Put it in context for me. This is why the boredom question matters. What if boredom is not a personal failure inside of the child? What if boredom is evidence that the structure is starving the mind? Now you add in modern technology. Children today are trapped between the two attention systems. School fragments attention through bells, subjects, grades, and schedules. Social media fragments attention through feeds, notifications, likes, short videos, and algorithmic stimulation. One system demands compliance, the other demands reaction. Are you willing to let our children of this generation fall susceptible to this system, to the way things work? You are old enough. It doesn't matter what age you are that is watching this video. You are absolutely old enough to identify the problems that you have seen throughout your life. As far as how education is promoted, circulated, matriculated through our system. And I'm sure there are many improvements that you would make. You may have said, Hey, I don't think the teachers are wise enough. I don't think they're compassionate enough. I think the textbooks are too dry. The monotony of having the same class over and over again, 5 days a week, just doesn't work for me. I don't think I need to be in school from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I think I need more physical activity. I actually think the most important part of school is the communal aspect. It's about meeting people. It's about having friends. There should be a lot more of that. Maybe we want more labs in science class, more hands-on training. Maybe we need teachers, and I'm not putting anything on teachers. Again, my sister's a teacher, and I have many very close friends that are teachers. I think the most of teachers, they go through so much. They're not only teachers, they are parents, they are caretakers, they are de facto stewards of this society. Maybe the curriculum needs to change. Maybe teachers need to have some way to explain connecting the dots. You're learning this because it will apply to that. Now, one system here, again, school demands compliance. The other demands reaction, social media. These are the two attention systems that our children, that society is being gripped by. Neither one is built primarily around deep curiosity. So a child moves from classroom management to digital management, from institutional pressure to algorithmic pressure, from grades to likes, from standardized testing to social comparison. Then the adults in the room ask why young people seem anxious, scattered, bored, or disconnected, if you aren't already yourself. By the way, everything that I'm mentioning here, I am a victim to as well. When we speak about mental health, I am in that arena as everyone is on this earth. We are all human. We have the same set of problems. We are staring at the same set of issues out here in the world. Two minds are always better than one. And collectively, if we look at these issues and we say, how can we improve them? Not, hey, we should do this, but how can we improve them? Assess those options and move forward for the betterment of society. That's how we should be moving forward as a species, is it not? Instead, it's about one country conquering the next. It's about resources. Who can get to space first? Oh yeah, there's a very real argument to be made here as far as what our leadership is doing. But that's essentially tangential to this argument. The CDC reported that in 2023, 40% of high school students had persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness. You think they would lie about that? 20% seriously considered attempting suicide, and 9 attempted suicide. That's the path that our students are taking. How many do you think felt embarrassed to answer this type of question? 40% of high school students had persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness. Oh, that's normal. See, that's the dangerous aspect of all of this. Having that throwaway statement there. We need to listen to our children, the parents, the teachers, the guidance counselors, the principals, the families. You let go of these children, God knows what happens to them. It may be suicide. It may be some desolate life. It may be prison. What I hear, what I see, as much as my mind can imagine, is I see society crying out. And this isn't exclusive to children. I see society crying out What do? Just go get therapists? It's not that easy. There isn't always an answer for something. Sometimes we really have to think about these issues. We hear our children, the children of the earth, and again, we should be hearing the adults out as well. We hear them crying out and we say, that's normal. Sometimes you're sad, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. What? They're 15 and they're depressed? What are you going to send them to a therapist? I mean, that's one alternative. Maybe there's something else going on. I'm not saying there is. I'm not implying that there is. But maybe there's something going on. Maybe this starts with the fact that we aren't even letting them be themselves. There is no antidote here. There is no panacea. I'm not saying that I know the root of the problem. But I do believe these numbers. And if you were an adolescent yourself, you probably would as well. Now, of course, 20% seriously considering attempting suicide. These numbers are not caused by school alone, but it's part of the environment children are developing inside. So the question is broader than that. Are they being educated or are they being overmanaged? When do they get to wander mentally? When do they get bored naturally enough to invent something? When do they follow one question for 6 hours because nobody interrupted them? Are they learning the difference between discipline and submission? These are not anti-education questions. These are pro-education questions. Because if school uniformly undermines curiosity, then defending school is not the same as defending learning. Education should enlarge the mind. It should make a person more capable with range, more literate, more imaginative, more curious, more courageous, and more self-directed. If the institution does the opposite, then the institution deserves scrutiny. That's why Gatto's essay still hits. He is asking whether compulsory schooling teaches children how to think or whether it teaches them how to function quietly inside systems. The final question I have for you is fairly simple. If children are born curious, why do so many leave school bored? And if a system consistently strips curiosity from the mind, why do we keep calling that education? Okay, next topic, and you're going to love this, and this is going to go crazy. We're about to, it's about to hit the fan here. And I don't know where to start here, but we have a lot to discuss on this topic. What I wrote down here is, what do Israelis actually think? From the government to the people, war, hostages, leadership. When people say they are anti-Israel, what do they mean? Do they mean they oppose the Israeli government? Do they mean they oppose Netanyahu? Do they oppose the war? Or do they mean they condemn every Israeli citizen? Of course, those are not the same things. If someone disagrees with Donald Trump, that does not automatically mean they hate every American. If someone condemns the US invasion of Iraq, if someone condemns the US invasion of Iran or Iraq, that does not mean they hate every person in the United States. If someone criticizes the Chinese government, that does not mean they hate every Chinese citizen. The same standard has to apply here. Criticizing Israeli leadership is not the same thing as condemning all Israelis. Now we have to get to some videos.
השר, על מה כל החגיגה?
מוות המחבלים עבר היום, חוק מוות המחבלים, היסטוריה, היסטוריה. בעזרת השם בקרוב, אחד אחד להוציא להורג, כל אלה שטבחו ורצחו.
So that's the Israeli government. And this is Ben Gvir. He is an Israeli politician and lawyer who has served as the Minister of National Security since 2022. This man is extremely disliked from what I can see, from everything I read and see on the internet. And that's him celebrating once Congress passed the death penalty for Palestinian detainees. Champagne. That tells you a lot about the leadership in our society today. It's one globe. He's drinking champagne because the death penalty was successfully passed. Does that make sense to you? It's disgusting. It's an abomination. Someone like that shouldn't be in any leadership position because leadership demands compassion. If you do not have compassion, you cannot lead. Yet he's been in the Israeli government since 2022. He is praised at that. Now here's another video. And the person that posted it said, it took a non-Jewish host on CNBC this morning to say in 20 seconds what so many are afraid of. Anti-Zionism gives the left an out to be anti-Semitic.
I think I can ask this question this way. Do you think there's a distinction between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism?
Zionism gives the left an out to be anti-Semitic, in my view. Out in the open about it. So it's no longer skinheads on these terrible right people, these conservative. So every college campus, every newspaper, everyone can be anti-Semitic by hanging this ridiculous label that it's anti-Zionist.
Well,
that's just
you
understand what I'm saying?
I understand. I have a different one.
And I think you give them an excuse. Way too much. And I'm not Jewish, so I have no skin in the game here. I'm a Zionist, but I'm not Jewish.
Let me ask you a different question. But these are the real issues in terms of just how people are thinking around the country right now.
That ever since the war started,
yes,
the perception
I am worried about
was after October 7th.
Let me ask you.
Okay, so this guy right here is Joe Kernan. He's a mainstay. He's been there for like 20 years on CNBC or more. And this is their morning show. I listen to a lot of CNBC because I am an active investor. Now, his co-anchor, which is really the main guy, if you don't know who this guy is, this is Andrew Ross Sorkin. He is actually Jewish. But this guy, he is as modest, brave. He's an amazing journalist. He writes incredible books. He is well respected around the world by investment managers, presidents. This guy's met everyone. He's interviewed everyone. You couldn't possibly put down his credentials on 5 pages. It is just incredible what this man has done. And his views are moderate at best. He's neither left nor right. He is a very sensible and very reasonable person, at least what I've seen in the public. Now, Joe Kernan, on the other hand, he's actually a Catholic, and he tends to ruffle some feathers. He's totally pro-Trump, and that's fine, right? We're not anti-Trump. There's no such thing as anti-Trump. It shouldn't be. Hear what the person has to say. Have the discussion. We're not shutting anyone out of a discussion. Now, what does he say again? He says that, we'll hear it again, right?
Zionism gives the left an out could be anti-Semitic.
Anti-Zionism gives the left an out to be anti-Semitic. Okay, all right. Well, now let me show you another video, and I can make the point all day about this, right? But let me show you another video. BBC compiled evidence of over 160 Palestinian children in Gaza deliberately shot in the head by Israeli snipers. The reports state Israeli Jews are hunting children for entertainment. Just hear what the anchor has to say.
The BBC World Service has compiled material on over 160 cases where children have been shot in Gaza and found that in 95 cases, the child was shot in the head or the chest. In most of these cases, the victim was under 12 years old. The cases we found run from the first.
So what do you have to say about that, Joe Kernan? And this isn't about Joe Kernan. This is about, I mean, the person that posted this was, pro-Israeli, whatever that even means, right? Anti-Semitism is saying you do not like Jews. Let's just be, let's just generalize here, yes? Without going into very specific definitions. But it's essentially, any slight against people for being Jewish. Anti-Zionism has been the general term to say, I am against what Israel is doing. This does not give you an out to be anti-Semitic. If you do not like Jews, that is a problem. Objectively, it's a problem. Because if I take out the word Jews and I say, if you do not like blank, you can ask almost any child, hey, fill in the blank. They're probably going to give you an object. They're certainly not going to give you a person. If you don't like broccoli, something like that. If you do not like pizza, if you do not like apples, the last thing a child would think about, I would guess, is a person. If you do not like Muslims, you are wrong. That statement does not make sense. It is as fallacious as anything else. It could not possibly make sense. So, there are things that are black and white on this earth. And when something is black and white, we should call it as such. If you do not like someone because of their race, because of the color of their skin, you have the problem, because that doesn't make any sense. Did the person tort or hurt you in any way? That's what you must ask. Is the person hurting society? Is that person hurting others? Is that person a detriment to society? Then you can start steering your views. Now, here's the caveat. You could do whatever the hell you want, man. You could be a racist, you could be a bigot, you could be a Nazi, you could do whatever the hell you want. It's your life. Who the hell am I to say anything? My opinion doesn't mean shit. But if you don't like a particular sect of people, that does not make sense objectively. Unless it's a group of people in which you can say the overwhelming majority are a detriment to society. It just doesn't make sense. There are people that do not like the idea of Islam. There are people that do not like, as a matter of fact, one thing being corollary in their minds to the next is, because I do not like Islam, therefore I do not like Muslims. It does not make sense. 1/5 of the world is Muslim. You're going to tell me that 1/5 of the world is bad for the world? I can almost guarantee you that a Muslim has never harmed you in any way. So where on earth do you get such an emboldened disposition from? It is careless, audacious, and that opinion hurts society. Now let me speak in layman's terms, right? I'm from New York. Let me just talk to you like I was in the street. People don't hate Jews. You can call this anti-Semitic all you want. I'm not anti-Israel. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not anti-Zionist. I don't give a shit about any of that. This is what the people really want. Okay? And I'm talking right now to every son of a bitch leader that has the audacity to affront the human species, has the audacity to kill, to murder, to rape, to cause pain, suffering, and harm to their fellow human beings, to the sons of bitches that cannot get out of their own way, that cannot suppress the urge that they have to colonize and to conquer. Those are the people that I disagree with. Anti-Semitic? You know, I don't want to just insult someone like Joe Kernan because he made this statement and a lot of people believe this. Anti-Zionism gives people an out to be anti-Semitic. You're insulting people and you're insulting your own intelligence at the same time, because no one, and by the way, if you listen to the full interview and other interviews as well, they bring up the college protests. You're telling me that the college protests in the United States for Palestine against the war in Gaza and in the West Bank and for the West Bank occupation, you're telling me those people were anti-Semitic? What the people that have brains want in this world is they want the war and the fighting to stop. We are not stupid. You think you're brainwashing us, like you're hoodwinking us. You're not. We're not stupid. 1,500 people were killed on October 7th, 2023. A travesty. Over 100,000 people have been killed, including how many children? Tens of thousands of children. Rape, torture. Since that date alone, this conflict predates October 7th, 2023 by decades. If you've actually read a little bit about Palestine, the land that Palestinians occupy, we're not even talking about the millions of people that have been displaced, the millions of people that fear to go back to their own land. Whether it's their land or not, they want to live there. You are not letting them. Go ask the child, right? Go ask the person that doesn't see race. Go ask the person that doesn't see color. Hey, do you think Palestinians should be able to live here? Were they living there before? Yeah, they were. Well, why can't they live there now? That's what society is saying. How the hell is this much death and destruction justified? And then you got this fucking guy. You got Ben Gvir popping champagne after the death penalty was passed for detainees, for Palestinian detainees. How can you celebrate something like that? If anything, this should be an extremely dark day in our history. And if you believe in God, what are you, the judge and jury? I don't care what part of the Bible that you interpret. At the end of the day, there needs to be compassion. Above all else, above all things. For you to celebrate the fact that you can now, as a nation, legally take someone else's life is astonishing. As if you aren't already doing it today. I don't understand what these laws even mean. This gives them the legal ability to do so. So let us not conflate two things, of course. There is Israel, there are Jews. Jews live in Israel. I believe it's 70% Jewish, 20% Arab and Palestinian and Muslim in Israel, and I believe the other 10% or 9% is just a mix of other races, ethnicities, religions. Let us not conflate the idea of an Israeli, someone from Israel, and a Jew. Of course, there are Jews in Israel. One does not make sense. One is absolutely anti-Semitic. You cannot just hate Jews. That does not make sense. And by the way, if you've ever met a Jew, if you've ever come into contact with Jewish people, people of the Jewish faith, they are not mean people. They are not bad people. We cannot categorically speak on an entire group of people. It doesn't make sense. And you know, like, I'm only saying it that emphatically because it just doesn't. I mean, do we really have to go into, you know, just being blunt and obvious and cliche? That just doesn't make sense. On the other hand, when people say that they are anti-Israel, when they say they are anti-Zionist, that doesn't mean that they're anti-Semitic. You're conflating the two. You do not understand that the people are tired of leadership being this poor. You are not understanding that we demand better of our leadership. You do not understand Ben Gvir, Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, everyone else that is involved in that area that can do something about it, that can truly make a change, that can actually stop the warfare, that can stop the bullets, stop the missiles, stop the money from being spent, and enable prosperity and peace. We are telling you that we are sick and tired of your shit. That's the difference here. That's a throwaway bullshit statement. That's what that is there. Anti-Zionism gives people an out, gives the left an out to be anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic what? People are not raising their hands saying, I hate Jews. This is not Nazism at all. This has everything to do with the order of things in the world not making sense to us. And when we speak out and we say we are anti-Zionist or we are anti-Israel, again, I don't say those things. I am just, hey, I am anti-stop the fucking bullshit. And the only reason why I get up in arms about this is because I'm sitting in the comfort of my home in New York City. There are people starving over there. They're living in rubble. They barely have clothes. They barely have food. That is truly despair, what you see on the videos. And then you see people in Israel, outside of Israel, I don't give a shit where, posting the opposite, fighting, somehow trying to justify and saying that those videos are fake. They're AI. Those people aren't facing any plight. We do not accept it. The people know the truth. Shame on you. Shame on anyone that says that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitic, that it's an excuse. Shame on you. Shame on you for A, not understanding, and B, for not doing something about it. You are condemning the people that are asking for peace. When you hear someone that gets upset, and I'm not making an excuse, but when you hear someone that gets upset and says, man, I wish the Israeli government were to be toppled. Well, where do you think that comes from, that angst? You think they hate all Jews? That's not anti-Semitic. That is understanding that Israel is the root of all those problems in the Middle East. And this comes from someone that also understands the other theory here, which is that Israel is a necessary evil, being the proxy of the United States in that region. We don't have Israel. We need to fight our own wars over there. We are more involved diplomatically in that region when we do not want to be as Americans. Therefore, it's better to just give Israel the weapons, give them the resources, and have them handle our business. Sometimes they go rogue. Cost of doing business. Oh yeah, I'm very privy to that theory. I don't give a shit what type of conspiracies or what's going on in the world. It's enough. Oh, it's enough. You want to kill someone like Jeffrey Epstein in a New York City jail and not tell us anything about it because you just had no other way of explaining yourselves? Okay, government. All right, go ahead. You got to do what you got to do, right? And you're going to conceal it and hide all the information, call it classified. That's okay. That's one man. And we're still going to find out what happens there. History will always reveal itself. That is not the same situation as hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people dead over the years, millions of people displaced, and the horror that these people have to live. And the biggest problem now is that they're still living it. So are the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, of course, but these people are still living it in Gaza right now. They have perpetuated this war. Anti-Zionist? What does that have to do with anything? Anti-Semitic? Now you're on another planet. You got to get your terms right. There is nothing anti-Semitic about this. And what gives me comfort is two things. Number one, I believe in God, and I know, guess what? Whether you believe in God or not, whether you believe in karma, you are gonna face the wrath, baby. Because even if you don't believe in God, if you do believe in right and wrong, there is a right and wrong on this earth, right? There has to be. You can prove that fairly easily. There is a good-natured person and an evil-natured person. Or maybe an extremely misled one. If you do not do right by society, if you do not do right by your fellow human, and you do evil, are you telling me there's no penance to pay? Oh, I highly doubt that. I don't know what happens when we die. Oh, but I'm sure, considering that we are instinctively born with hearts and the inclination to love, I'm sure that if you do the opposite of that, you are going to face a penalty for it. So all of these people, rest assured, they're going to have to answer for their crimes, whether it's in this life or the next. The other thing that I take comfort in is the fact that the entire world has now seen these egregious crimes for what they are. This is a full-on assault. It is a genocide. It is one of the worst moments of mankind. For as long as we have ever existed, all things considered, this is one of the worst moments of human history. The entire world sees what is going on. What is that? 10 square miles? The entire world sees what is going on in the Middle East, and yet the few people that hold the power do nothing about it. What a travesty. What a dark moment in our history. You want to call this anti-Zionist? No. It's that the people have awoken. And this isn't about stay woke movement. I don't give a shit about any of that. I'm not going to trivialize this conversation. This is far more important than that. You have lives on the line. And I don't care whether you're Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Catholic, whatever you are. If there's a person out there that gets hit by a car right now, you are going to rush to their aid. You're not going to ask any questions. You're going to worry about the well-being of that person. Yet, there are some people out there, because of how remote an idea it is of the war, there are some people out there that do what? They say, yeah, kill the Palestinians. Yeah, Israelis have the right to live there. Yeah. Not everyone can coexist. It's the Palestinians that are causing the issues. That's how you justify what's happening there. You are making a very, very bold assumption that we are all stupid, that we don't see what's in front of us, that we don't see the horror, the photos, the videos, the evidence, the hard evidence of you raping and killing children. The world has not turned their backs on Palestinians. We have not turned our backs on their right to live, on their right to self-determination. This is the few, the leaders that are in place, and they will answer. Criticizing Israeli leadership is not the same as condemning all Israelis. There is a stark difference. Israeli public opinion is not one thing. Again, Israel has 10.24 million people, about 7.79 million, or 76%, are classified as Jews and others. About 2 million, or 21%, are Arabs. Another 300,000, or 3%, are foreign nationals. So when people say Israelis think this or Israelis support that, the first question should be, which Israelis? A Jewish Israeli in Tel Aviv may not think like an Arab Israeli in Nazareth. A secular voter may not think like a religious nationalist. A family of a hostage may not think like someone prioritizing military victory. This is why polling matters. The Israel Democracy Institute found that 66% of Israelis said that the time has come to end the war in Gaza. This is as recent as 2025. Among Jewish Israelis, that number was 60%. Among Arab Israelis, it was 93%. That is a major fact. A majority of Israelis said the war should end, but the reasons were not identical. Among Jewish Israelis who wanted the war ended, about half cited danger to the hostages as the main reason. Among Arab Israelis who wanted it ended, the reasons were more spread across hostages, economic and social damage, and harm to Gaza residents. The same survey found that only 2% of Jewish Israelis who supported ending the war gave harm to Gaza residents as the main reason. Now, this is where the conversation becomes more complicated, because a person can support ending the war and still not be motivated primarily by Palestinian suffering. A person can oppose Netanyahu and still support hardline security policies. Don't we see these same differences here in the United States? You have many people that support Trump but disagree with him on many of his policies. Ask me why, can't get to it here. So the simple question is, are Israelis pro-war or anti-war? The better question is, what issue are they prioritizing? The hostage issue, of course, became central. One Israeli Democracy Institute survey found 65% of Israelis said the main goal of the war in Gaza should be bringing the hostages home. Among Jewish Israelis on the left, 94% prioritized bringing home the hostages. In the center, 80% did. On the right, it was 48%, with 41% prioritizing toppling Hamas. Again, these polls precede the hostages being released. But that means Israeli society is not just divided between war and peace, it is divided over what victory means. Is victory eliminating Hamas? Is victory bringing back hostages? Or was victory bringing back hostages? Is it about restoring deterrence? Those are different definitions. Another survey found that 57% of Israelis supported a comprehensive deal to release all hostages in exchange for ending the war in Gaza. The same survey found 68% of Israelis opposed a law exempting Haredim from military service, even if that meant dissolving the Knesset and holding new elections. These are the ultra-Orthodox Jews. And there's an ongoing fight right now to ensure that they cannot be enlisted for military service. Now, during war, that issue becomes sharper. If reservists are being called again and again, if families are losing soldiers, if the country is still mobilized, then exemptions for ultra-Orthodox men become a political crisis, not just a religious state debate. So when people outside Israel talk as if every Israeli is lined up behind the government, the polling does not support that. The Israeli government itself gets weak grades from the public. A 2026 Israel Democracy Institute summary said 64% of Israelis thought Netanyahu should accept responsibility for October 7th and resign either immediately or after the war. 64%. A separate May 2026 poll reported that 55% of Israelis wanted Netanyahu to step down, while 38% wanted him to stay. So if the question is, do Israelis just blindly support Netanyahu? The numbers say no. And I hope these numbers put things in perspective for you, because this tells you that that nation is like any other. You think all people support Xi Jinping in China? You think all Russians support Vladimir Putin in Russia? Let's look in our own backyard. Do all Americans support Donald Trump? Many Israelis oppose Netanyahu. Many blame him. Many want him gone. We're talking 50%. That's a normal number to use here. At the same time, opposition to Netanyahu does not automatically equal support for Palestinian statehood or opposition to military force. The Israel Democracy Institute found that 78% of Jewish Israelis said an independent Palestinian state is not something Israel can afford at the current time. 78% said they cannot afford a Palestinian state to exist. And that's from May 2026. That means Netanyahu may be unpopular, but Israeli society has also moved in a harder security direction after October 7th. Both things can be true. A country can dislike its leader and still support harsh security policies. A public can want hostages home and at the same time still distrust Palestinians. A voter can want the war ended and still oppose Palestinian statehood. That's why reducing the entire Israeli public to one slogan does not work. The public is fractured. On Gaza, a majority says the time has come to end the war. On hostages, the public increasingly wanted a deal. On Netanyahu, large shares want him to take responsibility and leave. The man has already been voted out before. On Palestinian statehood, Jewish Israeli support remains very low. On security threats like Iran or Hezbollah, Jewish Israelis remain much more hawkish than Arab Israelis. On Operation Roaring Lion against Iran, polling showed overwhelming Jewish Israeli support and much lower Arab Israeli support. The divide is not only left versus right, it is Jewish versus Arab, secular versus religious, hostage first versus Hamas first. Anti-Netanyahu, pro-Netanyahu. International standing is another number. The Israel Democracy Institute found that 73% of Israelis believed Israel's standing in the world was worse than before October 7th. I think we would all agree with that. 73% of Israelis believe that Israel is now being looked at in a much more negative light than before October 7th. Among Jewish Israelis, it was 76%. Among Arab Israelis, it was 60%. On the Jewish left, 95% said Israel's standing has declined. In the center, 87% said the same. Even on the right, 69% agreed. Most Israelis know the country's global reputation has taken a major hit. They may disagree about why. They may blame Hamas, Netanyahu, foreign media, anti-Semitism, the war. They may blame several of those things at once, but the polling says a broad majority recognizes the damage. So then the question becomes, how do you criticize a government without dehumanizing a population? There are Israelis currently protesting Netanyahu. There are Israelis demanding hostage deals, or there were. There are Israelis who want the war ended. There are Israelis who support the war. There are Israelis who oppose Palestinian statehood. There are Arab citizens of Israel whose views are often dramatically different from Jewish Israelis. There are families still living with trauma from October 7th on both sides. There are families of hostages who believe the government has failed them. There are soldiers and reservists who have carried the war physically. There are soldiers and reservists that did not want to be there. There are Palestinians in Gaza facing devastation. All of that is part of the story. So if someone says, I hate Israel, the follow-up should be, what exactly are you condemning? The government, the coalition, Netanyahu, the military campaign, settlement policy? Or 10 million people, including Jews, Arabs, the Druze, Christians, Muslims, secular Israelis, religious Israelis, left-wing, right-wing, hostage families, dissidents, protesters, and children? Moral clarity disappears when entire populations get treated as one person. You categorically defining an entire group of people just falls flat. The numbers make the point. 66% said the time had come to end the war in Gaza. 57% supported a comprehensive hostage deal in exchange for ending the war. 64% said Netanyahu should accept responsibility for October 7th and resign now or after the war. 55% wanted 55% in just May 2026 wanted Netanyahu to step down. 73% said Israel's international standing had worsened since October 7th. At the same time, 78% of Jewish Israelis and a Palestinian state said a Palestinian state is not something Israel can afford right now. So there is no single Israeli opinion. There is a society under trauma, political crisis, military pressure, international isolation, and deep internal division. You want to look one place? Look at leadership. Criticize them. Analyze their policy. Interrogate the war. Question Netanyahu. Look at the numbers. But do not collapse an entire population into its government. And do not say that being anti-Zionist is being anti-Israeli, is being anti-Semitic, is being anti-Jew. It is a fallacy and it is bullshit. And you need to stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Because you make a fucking statement like that when people are actually being killed out there. You don't know what the fuck that's like, right? I don't either, but at least I have some compassion for those people. That standard of not defining an entire population by its government should apply everywhere, including the United States, including Israel. We have to be better in having these conversations and having these discussions. Discussions for peace. As far as what's happening there today, that needs to end now. It should have ended. It should have never started. That needs to end now. There is no talking here. There is no, hey, this, that, anti-Zionist, anti-Israeli, blah, blah, blah. There's none of that. Stop the damn war. It is pathetic. It is disgusting. These are vile and evil leaders. That is a fact. Again, the things that are black and white in this world, we can readily identify. There is no reason why over 100,000 people should have been killed, millions displaced, and it's still going on 3 years now. And we're not even talking about West Bank. We're not even talking about the millions of people that just can't even live there. The people that can't travel there. It starts and it ends with the leadership. All right. Thanks for watching.